Welcome to the Wolverine Digest podcast, the best spot for objective and authentic coverage of Michigan athletics. If you want open dialogue, honest opinions, and in-depth coverage of the maize and blue, this is the podcast for you. And now, here's your host, Brandon Brown, joined as always by Chris Bradler.
I was going to start by saying go blue.
The friendly confines, Chris, on a Friday night.
The friendly confines on a Friday night. I am I am anxious as shit for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Just the anxiety. Like I'm not playing in the game. I feel so much anxiety and I just want to like get the game going. Almost I don't want to say get it over with because I want to enjoy the experience, assuming the game is an enjoyable one. But
yeah,
damn the anxiety. I go back and forth between enjoying like this moment. You know, it's the eve of the game and it's all the build up and the excitement and everything is still right there in front of you. And then, you know, tomorrow at 4:00 or so, you know, it'll all be decided. And
we're gonna know. We're gonna know a lot.
A
lot of questions are going to have answers. Yeah, about 4:00 tomorrow. Yeah, that is a crazy thing, a crazy way to think about it. And you know, obviously, we've talked about this. Both of our first times going to the shoe. I mean, I've been covering the team for 9 years and I've never been there, so I'm super pumped about that. Yeah. Obviously, the stakes couldn't be any higher. The atmosphere is going to be absurd. It's every single thing we could have asked for this game, the final regular season. Game of the year, like I said, the stakes, Big Ten title game, college football playoff, bragging rights, defend the Big Ten title. It's got everything. It's got every storyline you could possibly want.
Heisman Trophy implications.
Heisman Trophy implications.
I mean, literally everything. In a way, and I was thinking about this today. Yeah. In a way, this is almost like its own national championship game. I mean, I feel like these are two of the legit best teams in the country, and they're going to face off on Saturday. And I know that there's a college football playoff and there's a process, but this almost kind of feels like a little national championship game before you get into the college football playoff. And so I'm just, like I said, excited, nervous, anxious, all of the emotions flowing through my body here. And I'm just going to be some dink on the sideline taking pictures, and I'm nervous as hell.
Dual income, no kids? Nah, that's not the kind of dink we're talking about. Not the kind of dink we are.
Not that kind.
We'll throw this up. And look, there's a lot of people talking about it already. It's inevitable. We're not going to spend a lot of time on the speculation, who is in, who's out, what are we hearing, what are we not. I'll throw it up there because it was a donation. I thought from jump all those guys are going to play. When you've got Morris in uniform, you've got Schoonmaker in uniform, you've got Blake who came back after halftime, gave it a go. You had Donovan standing over on the sidelines, running around like he could play. Of course, if it's a hand or a wrist or a thumb or whatever we've heard, that wouldn't hinder you from running around and moving and stuff. But at the end of the day, it's just too big. If you can, like, if you're not a dead body, if you're not in traction, if you don't have several body casts on, like, you're gonna try. I don't know what that means in terms of snap count, in terms of effectiveness, in terms of production. But I will be shocked if all of those guys don't at least give it a go. And that's not inside scoop. That's not me digging stuff up. I just know how these dudes are wired, what this means to them, what kind of team and teammates they are. I just think you're going to see all of them at least give it a shot.
Yeah. I do think Jim Harbaugh said during the week, like, look, if you can't practice, you can't play in the game. And that's just the way it is. And I believe, you know, and again, it's speculating. It's the rumor mill. I don't really listen. I have direct connections to several of the players. Have never asked them once about their physical health. That's not the type of relationship that I want to have with those guys. And so, but I did hear that Mike Morris was able to practice or has been practicing. Blake Corum has been practicing. I mean, I've heard, you know, those guys. I've felt good about Blake Corum ever since he went back into the Illinois game. To me, if it was something significant, if there was a serious issue there's no way you put him back on the field. You know, as a decoy would be one thing, but he actually carried the ball and was like trucking guys along with him. And so, you know, that thing has been trending towards Blake playing for me all week. And it does give me a little more confidence, man, seeing number 2 out there in the backfield and out there with JJ. I have my slider has moved a little bit more in the positive direction from where it was on Wednesday. So feeling a little more confident on a Friday.
Yeah. Well, we'll get into all of that. I'm sure we'll see where me and Chris are
Yeah.
sitting as we march towards the day of. We're 5 hours short of Saturday being here officially on the clock, but the game eve, man, it just has a. Ooh, Chris is right, dude. It's got to feel, man. Me and Chris
There's
are going
a
to pull out of
feeling.
here bright and early, 6 a.m.
Early,
Right,
maybe even earlier about that. We'll talk about that. I might be pulling up a little bit earlier than 6 a.m., but we'll discuss that after.
Be like 1:15. Chris is like, I'm here. Let's go.
Look, I just want to avoid any sort of traffic issues, anything we could run into that would deter us or keep us from making it to Columbus on time. Like we've experienced those situations. Now, granted, we're not taking the RV, so a little less risky, but nothing is going to keep me from getting to that stadium. I'll sprint if I have to. If I got to get out of the car and run down the side of the highway, if I need to get on some roller skates and hold on the back of a bus, whatever I got to do, I'll be there.
That's right. So Clayton, thank you for the donation. Been a little busy. We're all busy, man. We get it.
Busy.
Everybody's busy, man. Nothing
But
wrong
appreciate
with that.
Thank you very much.
All right, so here we go, Chris. We got several segments on a Friday night. The first one is one of your favorites because you get to call me dumb. You get to call. I don't know.
Yeah.
How do you really feel when you get to call? When you feel forced to call me smart?
I just feel like on the smart ones, I don't know if you're going far enough out on the ledge. I feel like these really need to be some risk taking points here, and then we'll see where things fall. So let's see what you got.
I think you're going to like these ones today. I think you're going to like these 5. I think you're going to have a couple opportunities to call me dumb. I think some of it's going to be a little bit of a heart over head matter for one Chris Breiler. He's been known to do that from time to time. But here we go. Number 1, J.J. McCarthy will throw a touchdown pass and run for a touchdown in the horseshoe.
I think that's smart. I think he's going to have to. I think you're going to have to use every single bit of what JJ brings to the table, and that's going to be his mobility. That's going to be his ability to use his arm to put the ball down the field. I think he's going to have to throw touchdown passes, and I think he gets one in on the ground with his legs. So I'll call it smart. We're not off to a solid start here, Brandon.
Well, I mean, hey, how many rushing touchdowns does he have on the year? 3?
I don't know. Not much.
I'm out on the limb a little bit there.
Listen, if there's a game where he's going to have it, I think it's going to come on Saturday. Everything. You got to empty the tank.
I like it. All right. This is me. This is me being a little more heart over head.
Let's hear it.
The way the dude is wired, the work he's put in, the Heisman campaign, the deuce is loose. Blake Corum will play at least 40 snaps tomorrow. His season average, Chris Breiler, is 41.
I mean, it's hard to say because the variable there is even if he's able to go and he takes a shot and it takes him out of the game, there is that variable there. But assuming that doesn't happen, if Blake Corum's able to play, even if he's got a knee brace on, he'll be out there the full game. I think that they're pushing all their chips onto the table to get this one. Because honestly, if you don't get it, even some of the players on the team had said it. Like, if you don't win this game, then the rest of it was just kind of a waste. And so I think if he can go, he will go. And so, I'll say, what did you say? 40 snaps? 40. Yeah. 40 snaps. Smart.
The average is 40.9 snaps. Excuse me. 40.9 snaps per throughout the course of the season. He has played 450 snaps this year over the course of 11 games. So, and he's missed. Some of the games he didn't even play in the second half, and against Illinois he was dinged. But that's his number, and I'm saying 40. Look, I don't know. There's no way to measure it, and everybody in a winged helmet wants to be out there for every single snap. I think if you polled every Michigan fan there is and asked, give me your 5 guys on the roster who want this game more than anybody, I think Blake Corum's going to be named a lot, and because of that. If he can, dude, if his leg is attached, he's going to try to give it a go.
You know who else?
Up with something.
J.J. McCarthy's on that list.
Yeah, he's on that list as well. Yeah, so I just feel like he's
Rod Moore.
If it's even remotely possible, he'll be out there. All right. Again, another variable. I don't think it's a coincidence that J.J. McCarthy has looked a little out of sync when Luke Schoonmaker's not on the field. He was clearly a security blanket. He had a lot of chemistry with him. There was something there. Whether you want your tight end to be your second leading pass catcher on your roster or not, he was a good thing for J.J. McCarthy on the field. I expect Luke Schoonmaker to play tomorrow. He looked like he could have went last week. Luke Schoonmaker will catch at least 5 balls. That's a bit of a limb, is it not?
It's a bit of a limb. Yeah, you got to factor in Colston Loveland's made some big plays lately. They might try to get him in. He's got his mojo going. I'm going to say dumb, but only slightly, because I do think Colston Loveland is going to get some reps out there. He's made some catches. He's been a factor, and he's played in the last handful of games. And so he's, I don't know how quickly you come back from that if you're Luke Schoonmaker and how quickly you get back into the rhythm. But I'll go under. I mean, even if he's at 4, it's still a pretty significant day for him, given what his production's been like prior to the season.
Fair enough. So just a little dumb.
Just a little dumb. Just a little stupid.
A little bit dumb. All right.
A little dumb.
This one pains me, and I hope I'm dead wrong. I hope I'm dead wrong, but watching Mike Morris just move around the field last week, he looked in rough shape. Again, I'm not trying to speculate. That was for everybody in the world to see who was at the game. He was out there in uniform. He was moving around, but he wasn't going through warm-ups. He didn't have much pep in his step.
Considerable limp in the tunnel.
Yeah, we're not breaking any news here. And I think just based on how that looked, I find it very hard to believe he'll be anywhere near 100%. Again, I'm not a doctor. I hope I'm dead wrong. Maybe it was something that cleared up within a day or two. I hope that's the case. But I don't think that Mike Morris will record a sack. I don't know what he's going to be able to give tomorrow. So that's my prediction. No sack for Mike Morris in this big-ass game where we saw Aiden Hutchinson get 3 last year in Ann Arbor.
Yeah, I think it's smart just based on what we've seen. Again, totally speculating just based on what we have seen visually. I watched Mike Morris, I think it was coming out of halftime, going out, for the Illinois game, and he was just very ginger on that leg. And, how much can you heal in a week? Go from, limping and not really participating in pregame drills, not participating in the game, to go out and be absolutely dominant on the edge. I'm not sure that you can make that kind of recovery that quickly. But I will say this, the folks at the University of Michigan, if there's any group of people that can get somebody right for a game, they've got a hell of a crew up there and would love to see it. But based on what I saw last week, I think it's a smart call. Yeah,
it pains me. It does, because you need a guy like that to really show up. He's an emotional leader. He's a physical leader. He's the sack leader. I mean, you need a dude like that. And I think he's going to give it a go. I think he'll be out there. We'll see Big 90 on the field, but I'm skeptical on how effective he can be just based on.
You got Braden McGregor. You got Jalen Harrell. You got guys out there that can be serviceable and get the Jesus, what's his first name? Moore. His last Derek Moore. Derek Moore. Yeah. Somebody we don't really talk about often, has played in big minutes this season as well. They've got a lot of guys out there that can step up and fill that role if unfortunately Morris is unable to go.
There you go. Chris Fields, a regular. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Totally miraculously positive gut feeling about the game today. Maybe Jim Harbaugh being weird and cryptic at the presser. I don't know, but he feels good randomly. Well, great. I mean, you need all that you can get at this point. You need all that you can get. And down here, Clayton, another dub, another 20-piece.
Clayton.
With what happened last year, he feels like Ohio will be chippy. I tend to agree. Hopefully Michigan can stay cool, stack the box. Do we think that Michigan's run game will be stopped by Ohio State? If so, does the passing game have what it takes? I mean, that's the million-dollar question. That's what we've been talking about all year. I don't think Ohio State can stop the run, just like nobody else has been able to, and their run defense isn't that great.
Listen, I'll say this. If J.J. McCarthy and those wide receivers in that passing game can start to take the top off of a defense and get those guys to think twice about loading the box, it becomes a completely different game for Blake Corum or C.J. Stokes or whoever the hell's out there running the ball. I think if the Michigan offense proves they can connect on a couple of those early, it's going to change the whole complexion of the game. But that is the million-dollar question is, can the offensive line be as dominant as it has been through the first 11 weeks? I mean, they have been blowing guys off the ball. They have been making big holes for the running backs, and it has been a formula that has worked so well that it's put them in a position where they're 11-0 and they've got a chance, to do some big things ahead of them. So Yeah, I don't know, man. That's a solid defensive front. I know that this Ohio State roster isn't quite what it was in 2021, but they've still got some skill players up there on the front, particularly on the edge that can make things difficult. So that's a wait and see sort of thing. But I feel like we are going to see Michigan continue to do what they've done all year. They're committed to that brand of offense, and I think they're going to do it until Ohio State proves that they can stop it. And then once that happens, then it's a matter of what does this Michigan offense look like at that point. And I think that's a big concern.
Here's the deal. Ohio State has the number 15 rush defense in the country. They give up about 107 yards per game. You know who also gives about 110 yards of rushing up per game? Penn State. And Michigan ran for like 1 billion yards on them. So
True.
Ohio State's talented, man, and they've played the same Big Ten's conference that Michigan has. Not real strong. So their statistical numbers look pretty good across the board. They've got guys who are going to be playing on Sundays. They've got talent, more talent than anybody Michigan has played this year. But I still like what Michigan does with the offensive line. And again, a healthy Blake Corum, I'd be singing a very different tune. But I still don't think that they're going to shut Michigan's run game down. I just don't see it. Now, if they do, that's where the biggest concerns come in, because I don't think that the passing game can suddenly flip a switch on the road in that environment against the most talented team they've played all year. I don't see it happening.
I just feel like all you got to do is it doesn't have to necessarily be a switch that's flipped and it becomes, this phenomenal elite passing attack. I just feel like if they can connect on one or two of them,
I'll put it this way.
Now all of a sudden the mentality changes and you've done it.
Not flipping a switch. That's exactly it. The last two or three words you just said right there. It's not flipping a switch. It's just it'd have to be different than everything they've done so far.
Right.
I mean, so until I see it, I don't believe it.
It's like back in the. I don't want to date myself here, but it's like Robert Ory back in the day going off for like a 40 piece all of a sudden. It's like, where the hell did that come? It happens. Those things happen. People get in a rhythm. All we need is that passing game. We know the pieces are there. We know JJ McCarthy is a phenomenal quarterback. We know we've got elite wide receivers, and I'm not using that term, freely here. I think we legitimately have elite wide receivers that can make big time plays. It just hasn't connected over the first 11 weeks, but they've got the ponies to do it. And man, if they can connect on a couple of those, that's all you really need to get the mojo going. And then on the flip side, now Ohio State has to account for it. They've got to think about it. And then play action becomes, all of these things that have really made Michigan one-dimensional by not being able to really be a threat deep. That's off the table now, and Michigan can start to do some different things in the game that I think will give Ohio State some fits.
Skrionk in the house. Thank you, sir. I had a fantastic Thanksgiving. I didn't have a chance to really catch up with Chris about his, but I assume it went well. I mean, I spent a lot of time on the turkey and the stuffing, but
ate a lot of Thanksgiving food, took a long power nap in the middle of the day, woke up confused. It was dark, wasn't sure what time it was, wasn't even sure what day it was, really. It was one of those types of naps. So, yeah, it was a success.
Always good to do that. Always good to do that.
You do that, right? You wake up, you take a nap, you wake up, and you're like, wait a minute, what day is this? Did I fall asleep to the morning?
I lied a little bit. Chris did text me and say, just got off about a 3-hour standby, feeling pretty good. And, so no, it was good. I was back home, my hometown with the fam. Good times were had. Ah, damn it, if the Lions could have won, I'd have just been on cloud 9 today, dude. Hung in there with the Bills. Clayton again. Clayton must have got a bonus at work, end of the month bonus or something here, throwing us another 10 piece. He agrees with Chris, taking the top off the defense. Need Michigan to take more shots if they don't connect, just to keep the defense honest. There's some truth to that too. You can't just put a lid on it if it doesn't work once or twice. You got to keep taking some shots.
The problem with doing that, if they don't connect, is your drives are going to end early.
Well, yeah,
and you're going to be giving the ball back to Ohio State, and that's the thing you don't want to do, is have quick, 3 and out type drives where you're stringing those together because you're trying to connect down the field, and you're essentially wasting plays at that point. And you're giving the ball right back to that offense that's scoring about 20 plus points every single half. So you got to limit the amount of possessions that they have. There is there's a lot of value in the way that Michigan plays offense in terms of ball control and time of possession, and especially if you have a healthy Blake Corum who can just pummel away at a defensive front, demoralize them. I think that's a big part of it. But certainly, on the shots they do take, they've got to connect on those, because I think that's just going to open the game up that much more. And they don't all have to be down the field. Like I said on Wednesday, it can be Roman Wilson. I saw that AJ Henning made the trip, which is good news. Roman Wilson, AJ Henning, Cornelius Johnson, Andrell Anthony, get them within 10 yards, get them on a quick crossing route, get the ball in their hands, get those guys in the flow of the game early as well, so that when you try those deep shots later on, they've already got the experience of touching the ball, making some things happen. They're not just glorified blockers out there.
Glorified blockers. That's what I just don't
drippy blockers. Just drippy blockers.
I just don't think it'll work, man. I don't think it'll work. All right. Last but not least, this is the other concern I have on the road in Columbus. Please just call me dumb, because I think I want to be dumb about this.
I'm going to do it. I'm committed to doing it on this one.
I really think that Ohio State will lead at the half by at least 7 points.
Dumb because they can't.
Thank you.
They can't.
Yeah, it can't happen.
Dumb call. They can't. Ohio State cannot go into the half with any lead. Put it that way. They cannot go into the half with the lead. That to me is of the most importance. Like if Michigan goes into the half trailing, I think that's going to change the whole dynamic of the second half. I don't think you're going to see a Michigan defense that's going to shut down that offense, particularly when, and we'll get to it on some of our over-unders, but I do think Ohio State's going to put up points in the first half, and it's a matter of, will Michigan keep up, and can they compete with that offense?
Yeah, there's no doubt. It's my biggest fear is that they get into a little bit of a hole, early. The momentum just
happen.
I know. That's my biggest fear, being in that place, and with the offense, the way it can score.
The energy in that stadium when this thing kicks off is going to be off the charts. And if Michigan gets in a hole early, it is going to be a difficult hole to climb out of. I don't care how good the defense is. I don't care, even if Blake Corum is out there, you can't fall down early to Ohio State on the road in this game. I just think that's going to spell disaster for the remainder of the afternoon. Michigan has to come out. Matter of fact, I think Michigan's got to score first. They got to come out. They've got to throw the first punch. They got to get in the end zone first. It can't be 3 points. They need to get 7 points on the board first, and then I'll feel a little bit better about how this thing is going to play out. But certainly cannot. I mean, if they fall down 10-0, 14-0, that's a steep hill to climb on the road in Columbus.
Clayton says no bonus, just catching up for lost time, making up for lost time. Grab a beer on him. There you go. Thank you,
Appreciate you.
That. All right, before we get to the next segment, Chris, a little word from our guy Rich over at
Richie.
Here we go.
Hey, this is Rich from Mediascapes located in Burton. Let me fill you in a little bit about our business. We are a full-service sign and graphic company, from banners, yard signs, to vehicle wraps. When it comes to marketing your business, we also provide video and photography services, as well as apparel and promotional items. If it's something that will make your business or organization stand out, we do it, and I guarantee we do it well. We are Mediascapes on Dorrit Highway, south of Bristol Road, just before Rock Bottom. Check out our work at Mediascapes.com. That's Mediascapes with a K.com.
Mediascapes with a K.com. There it is, 810-410-4737 in Burton. Chris, this is, I should ask you this off the air because I feel dumb for not knowing, and also maybe I should know since it's like part of what Rich said. What is Rock Bottom? Is that like, what is that?
I think Rock Bottom, I think they do like, I think it's like masonry and stonework and all kinds of shit
so
like that.
Another, maybe a well-known business out there or something.
Yeah,
like that. Okay,
yeah.
okay.
It's so every time I'm at Mediascapes, there's always like big slabs of either granite or concrete or whatever the hell it is. It's rock out there, and I think that's Rock Bottom.
I've heard it obviously all year long. I'm like, is that a place? Like, is that?
I thought it might be a strip club at first, to be quite honest, because you go in there, you're kind of at rock bottom, and that's what I thought. But
I mean,
there's
a lot of people in here. Maybe some of them frequent strip clubs. Chris, I don't know. Do you have to be politically correct?
Everybody that goes to a strip club has hit rock bottom, but it's certainly not an indication that I don't know.
Yeah, just pack that in.
Listen, we've all been in them. There's nothing that feels good about being in a strip club. I mean, what are you doing there? What are you paying for? And then when you leave, do you ever leave happy? Do you ever leave feeling good about yourself?
That was a solid investment. Yeah, you don't ever have that thought. That's for sure.
That was money well spent.
That's for sure. All right. Well,
I think she liked me.
Big Ten, big game.
I guess there's a pretty big game in the Big Ten this week. That's obviously
Yeah.
going to be our
There's at
focal
least
point
one.
down the stretch. Outside
Are you
of
talking about Michigan State and Penn State?
well, listen, outside of Michigan, Ohio State, there's not really much of a matchup to focus on. But I am going to focus on Michigan State and Penn State. Give us a couple opportunities to take some shots at the Sparties. Take a look at that number. Just discuss Mel Tucker getting about $2 million a win this year. Just killing it, dude.
You know what I saw? What was really hilarious? I saw this on social media that Michigan State has had more players not convicted facing criminal charges than they have wins this year.
Yeah.
That's how bad it is in East Lansing. When you have more criminal charges than wins on the heel of a $95 million contract extension, that's not ideal. That's not ideal.
I mean, he's getting over $1 million a win. So here it is. Here it is. We're going to focus on Michigan State going to Happy Valley to play the number 11 Penn State Nittany Lions, by the way.
Not bad. Were they 9-2?
Yeah, the only two losses are to Ohio State, Michigan. That's it. That's not a bad resume. Apparently, you know, they should be like number 6 or something because the committee loves, you know, high-ranked losses. They don't give a shit about
unless you're in the Big Ten. You're in the Big Ten.
So sorry, Penn State, doesn't work that way for you. Don't worry about Tennessee with their LSU with their 2 losses. They got boat raced. Well, Penn State kind of got that ass kicked too. So anyway, little soapbox there. No, dude. Do you know the spread? Would you like to take a guess what Penn State is favored by over the hapless Spartans right now?
See, my gut says 17.5, but I think it could even be 24.5.
It's 19, dude.
Okay.
19 points.
Yeah.
Mel Tucker chasing the elusive 6th win. The
Bowl
elusive
eligibility on the table. Bowl eligibility on the table.
What a performance after the $100 million contract.
Woo!
And if that wasn't enough, it's not time for this segment.
Guy.
He also kept $100,000 extra dollars just because.
Reportedly.
Guy's awesome. Guy is just winning on all
regardless
levels.
of the circumstances surrounding it or the details of what came out. I was looking at my news feed what was it, yesterday or the day before, and saw, you know, almost consecutively, it was when the charges came out and then the story about Mel Tucker pocketing $100,000. I'm like, this is going really well. And they're not even bowl eligible at this point, and they're probably going to get their asses kicked in Happy Valley. So things are really going according to plan there in East Lansing. You know, just hang on tight, give it another year, give it another 2 years. I'm sure they'll be right in the national championship.
Just finish a solid 5-7.
Keep chopping. That's all
Love
you do.
it.
Just chop away.
They just got lost in the deep end, bro. That's all that happened over there.
Maybe there was too much time spent on the
video
all the
reveals
promo and all the BS. Not enough time spent on the substance.
Man, oh man. All right. Well, we don't need to spend a lot of time on this one. I don't even know, dude. What? Just listen. I'm just going to list the rest of the games in the Big Ten. First of all, Nebraska just beat Iowa.
I saw that. Iowa was mounting a comeback. It looked like they found a little bit of offense there for a minute.
So there's another just powerhouse match in the West. You got Rutgers. Let's do it this way, Chris. You tell me which one of these games is shittier because there's quite a few. Rutgers at Maryland.
That's
pretty bad.
It's pretty bad.
Illinois at Northwestern.
Also very bad.
Minnesota at Wisconsin, I guess, is like.
Is basically every single team in that division, in the West Division, playing for a shot at Indy. I don't even know what the situation is. I mean, there's going to be a team from the West with like 5 losses that makes it to Indy. It's incredible.
And then Purdue and Indiana. I mean,
that's the one right there.
Yeah, that probably is the one. Pack it up. Pack the whole rest of the conference up.
I don't even know how good Purdue is this year. I'm telling you, I routinely forget that Purdue is even in the conference.
It's bad. It's all bad. But one thing that's all good, Mel Tucker's bank account. That's all good. That's about all that's good over there with Mel Tucker and the Spartans, but that is solid.
Getting paid.
Solid. Lots of zeros.
Let that man make money
over there.
Look at you. You know, when you secure a deal for yourself,
He got the bag,
It is,
dude.
man.
He got the bag. All right, so here's the plan. Obviously, tomorrow's going to be a long day. Chris and I are going to speak about our pullout. Just give me a minute, dude. Just
Pull it out, showed it to you.
pulled it out, showed it to you. I almost said that Chris and I are going to talk about our pullout game. I almost said that. That's
Okay.
almost the words that came out of my mouth.
The pullout game from how is it? Oh, you mean from leaving?
Yes, what time
Columbus?
we are leaving in the morning. I'm just going to stick with Chris and I are going to talk about what time we're leaving in the morning.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a long day. But even though it is a long day,
Mhm,
we're going
mhm.
to Wolverine State Brewing Company. We
Have
want
to.
you to be there.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys who are not going to be in Columbus or a little closer to home, get there all day. Go there and watch the game.
Yeah.
Stick around, hang out while we're en route back. I mean, God, God willing, we're going to be celebrating a win. It's going to be a positive drive home. It will feel like we're walking into Cheers when we get back. That's what Chris and I are hoping for.
Sometimes you wanna go.
I just hope it goes that way. But however the game plays out tomorrow, come out to Wolverine State Brewing Company, get you some nachos, get you a Sandy, get you some beers.
We're either going to drink to celebrate or we're going to drink to drown our sorrows. But
There it is.
either way, we will be drinking.
There
Right?
it is. Sean, that's a negative. We will not be hanging out in Columbus. We're going to pretty much hit the road, get back, spend some time with our sponsor, our beautiful sponsor, Wolverine State Brewing Company, get some beers, get some food in us, do a show.
Yeah.
So we've got a reason to hit the road quickly and get on back. So that's the plan. So everybody who can make it, please go. Last regular season game of the year. Of course, Wolverine State Brewing Company is there all the time, but there's a lore. There's a certain vibe that comes with being there on a game day on a Saturday. Obviously,
There's
tomorrow's
no
as
doubt.
big as it gets. We hope to see you out there. Chris, anything else on Wolverine?
No, I just like I say all the time. Every time we go in there, we're treated like family. The food is good, the beer is good, the vibe is good, the music is good. It's all good things every time we're in there. And then especially when we get to share that experience with people that follow us on the social channels or whatever, it creates a really cool environment. So yeah, if you're in the area, if you plan on stopping out, would love to have you out there. The boys are going to be there. Like I said, one way or another, we're either going to be celebrating or drowning our sorrows and some pulled pork, mac and cheese, and beer. But it's going down at Wolverine State Brewing Company. Probably going to roll in right around 7 p.m. I would say we'll get back after the game, factoring in traffic. So sometime around 7 p.m., 7:30. That's when we'll arrive.
There you go. This is a pretty good question. I mean, Chris usually throws them up in multiple areas. I think the last couple have had a specific photo gallery on the website over at Wolverine Digest. But follow Chris on Twitter. Follow Chris on Instagram. There's some stuff on Facebook always, articles on Wolverine.
A lot on Instagram. A lot of the photos make it over to Instagram. Occasionally I will put up the photo galleries, from the game. And I think for this one, it's going to be, probably even more important that I get some up pretty immediately after the game, as quickly as I possibly can. So yeah, you can find them on the Facebook page. Twitter, Instagram is where a lot of that stuff goes out initially. So if you don't follow me on Instagram, it's Winged Helmet Media. You can find it over there. But yeah, there's a lot of different places to find those photos.
There you have it. All right. Well, this I like this segment. I always burning questions over unders. We get a lot of really good discussion.
Yeah.
Specific prediction type stuff. Chris, would you like to lead us off on our over under segment, sir?
I will lead it off on the over-under segment. And let's talk about the birthday boy a little bit, Mr. Blake Corum. Happy birthday to Blake Corum today on the eve of the game. Man, what a great present it would be to go out there and just beat the shit out of the Buckeyes tomorrow. But we did talk a little bit about how much we think he's going to be out there. I know you talked about how many snaps he's going to play. I've got his carries, Blake Corum's carries, set at 17.5 on Saturday. 17.5. I'm taking the over-under.
Wow. So when you started the question, I had 16 in my head. So that would be the under. Then I remembered all that bullshit I said a little bit ago about how he's going to play 40 snaps because he wants it as much or more than anybody on the roster. And then in that case, I think it would be over. I think I'm going to take the under. I hate it,
Ooh,
but I think
I don't like that.
just everything I've heard this week is just that it's all about pain management and Blake just gutting it out. And he might make me eat my words. He might carry it 30 times because that's how he is. That's how he's wired. That's how he wants it. But I'm going to take the under ever so slightly at about 15 or 16 carries.
I'm going to confidently take the over on 17 and a half. I do think it'll be up probably in the mid-20s. I could see it pushing 30 carries. Look, if he's out on the field, I think it's going to be business as usual, and they're going to lean on him until they can't lean on him anymore. And I think Blake's just built of the right stuff mentally and physically. I think he's done everything he can do to get his body right for this game. And like we talked about before, this is the time where there's nothing to save at this point. I mean, now granted, we're speaking at it from a fan standpoint. I believe it or not, Brandon, I have no shot at going to the NFL. So for me, giving up my body for this one game, there's not much thought that goes into it. And I'm not saying that Blake Corum is factoring any of those things into, whatever decisions he makes on Saturday. But I think if he's able to go, he's going to go full force. That's just the way he's wired. So I will confidently take over 17 and a half.
Well, my first one is all about the game flow, what we think happens. How Michigan adjusts at halftime. Do they come out of the gate a little faster in the first half? I mean, it all boils down to how the game plays out. But I have J.J. McCarthy's over-under for pass attempts set at 30 and a half. 30 and a half throws for J.J. in the shoe.
Over. And my next over-under, I think, will play into that a little bit. I think it's going to be over just because I think it's going to be necessary for those guys to move the ball down the field, through the air, whether it's intermediate passes, whether they're taking deep shots. I'm going to take the over.
I'm also taking the over, and I'm seeing a lot of followers taking the under on that. So I'm
under by a lot.
But yeah, I think they're going to have to throw the ball, and I just think he's going to have to do it. He's going to have to try it out. I mean, we've talked about it all year long. No more vanilla approaches. No more. You got to go for the gusto in this.
That was 30 and a half, right?
30 and a half.
30 and a half. Well, that leads right into my next one pretty well here. I've got J.J. McCarthy's completions set at 22 and a half. So if we're taking the over, we're taking the over on 30 and a half. I've got completions at 22 and a half. Where do you fall?
I'm going to go over by a hair. As soon as you started talking, I was like 22 or 23. So you put the over under in the exact spot where I was kind of debating. I could see like a 23 out of 34 for
24, 33.
Yeah, something like that. I'll take the over, but again, by just a little tiny bit.
Same. The over by 1.5. I think he's going to get 24 completions on Saturday, and it's going to be out of necessity. So, yeah, give me the over on that.
There you
go. Give me 1 second to come out. Getting an echo here.
Okay, so as Chris is getting that, I mean, I feel like a lot of times when we do these over-unders, I feel like the opinions of you guys listening and following along are pretty close to what Chris and I say. I feel like there's been quite a bit of parity on these last couple ones.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that. So I guess we will see. Chris, on the other side of the field, Coleridge, Bernard, Stroud the fourth. I don't like his mental makeup. I don't want, as a Lions fan, I don't want anything to do with that kid at the next level. He is talented. There's no doubt about it. He's nearing in on 40 touchdown passes this year. He's got some really, really dynamic wide receivers. Jackson Smith and Jigba, the best one coming into the year, hasn't even hardly played. I think he's got 5 catches on this season. But we know what Ohio State wants to do. So C.J. Stroud, Coleridge, Bernard's longest completion of the day, Chris. Longest completion of the day set at 34.5 yards.
Over.
Yeah.
Over. I think they are. I think there's going to be 1 or 2 that slip past that Michigan secondary, and that's where, the big plays. Michigan's going to have to limit the big plays through the air with C.J. Stroud, and I do think they're going to give up a couple of those, and it's how you rebound. It's how you recover. I'm not saying they're going to be for touchdowns, but I will certainly take the over on that.
I would take the over as well. I mean, I didn't want to get into like the air yards.
Yeah.
But I think I'd take the over on that too.
Yes.
If it was over 34.5 yards in the air. But
Through
I
the air.
certainly think that there will be a pass for more than 35 yards, and it'll probably be a big one, and it'll suck. But that's what their offense does, and that's the kind of weapons that they have. So I will take the over as well.
Yep. All right, man. This is an interesting one because Ohio State, I think the last time I looked, they were averaging about 22.5 points per game in Big Ten play in the first half of each game. I've got Ohio State's points at the half set at 20.5 on Saturday. Are you taking the over or the under?
I would take the under. I still have confidence in Michigan's defense, even if Ohio State gets off to a pretty good start, even if they score on their first drive. There's nothing that's happened with Jesse Minter in that unit this year that makes me think they'd get lit up for 20+1/2. Now, it's a different animal. It's on the road. I mean, I get it, but I'll take the under by a little bit. I was thinking like 14, 17, something like that. So I'll take the under by about a possession.
You know what? I'm going to take the under as well. And again, it's out of necessity. I think if Ohio State goes into the half with more than 20 points, I think that's a big deal because that shows that the Michigan defense really hasn't done anything to keep the Buckeyes from doing what they've done offensively all season long. So I am going to take the under, maybe around 14, 17 points, and Michigan's going to have to be right there, right in the mix. But give me the under on 20.5 because it has to be, damn it. It has to be.
Well, I think I know where you're going to go with this one based on your answer earlier on how much Blake Corum is going to play. How about the production? Blake Corum over, under. Total yards, rushing yards, 99.5.
Over.
You think he's going to play a lot?
Over.
So yeah.
Even with a half of football, the man has not been held to less than 100 yards all year long in Big Ten play. I think he's going to carry the ball a lot. I do think the offensive line is going to do what they've been doing all year. I think they're going to give him holes. I think he's going to hit him, and I think he's going to get, a handful of big runs, big chunk plays. Now, does he have the top end speed to break free and leave, defenders in the dust and get to the end zone? I'm not sure, especially if you're wearing a knee brace. But I think he's going to be over 100 yards. There's no doubt about it because he's going to get his carries. He's going to get his, and he's going to do what Blake Corum does. That's why he's a Heisman Trophy candidate.
I find myself going back and forth on this one a little bit. I do, and it's just because the nature of that injury, if it is truly a bone bruise, the way he runs, dude, he's so good at the jump cut and the hard plant and the change of direction. Like that's a bone bruise in a knee's worst enemy is exactly how he runs, and that worries me a little bit. I'm still gonna take the over by a little bit. I don't think it's by a lot. I think it might be like $105, $110. He got what was it? 108 against
108.
Illinois in basically a half of football. He carried it once in the second half. He's just so good, man. He's just so freaking good. He makes every little cut, every little sliver. He rarely misses a hole. He rarely goes the wrong way. He's rarely tricked by his vision. I just feel like his track record has been nearly flawless as a runner, and so I will go over, even though I think he's going to play a little less and he's going to be, hindered by his own style of running.
Yeah, man, he's an incredible running back. I think that if he's able to go out there, you're going to see him do what he does. Here's one of the biggest things I think that needs to happen on Saturday. That Michigan defense has to put Coleridge, Bernard, Stroud, the fourth, on his ass early and often. They got to get in his face. They got to make him uncomfortable. They got to rattle his cage right out the gate. I've got the sacks, though, for the Michigan defense set at 3.5 on Saturday. 3.5 times they get to CJ Stroud.
Here's what I'm going to do for you, Chris. My last over-under was Michigan sacks over-under 2.5.
Ooh,
how do we feel about our numbers then? I said 2.5. You said 3.5. Where are we at on that?
I'm hammering the over. The over on 3.5. The over on 3.5. Because, again, a lot of this comes out of necessity. They have to get to CJ Stroud. This is a game where you just got to find a way to get in the quarterback's face. And it's the same thing that they did last year. They made him real uncomfortable, flu or no flu, snow or no snow. He was uncomfortable. He was seeing ghosts out there, and he knew that David Ojabo and Aiden Hutchinson were coming for him. And I think they got to set that same tone this year. So give me the over. They're going to get in his ass early and often. They're going to rattle his cage. And he's gonna be thinking about that for the rest of the game.
I wanted to throw this at you and see if it rattled your cage a little bit.
Let's see.
Because Michigan had 4 sacks last year against Ohio State, 3 of them from Aiden Hutchinson and 1 from David Ojabo. You're still cool with the over?
I'm still cool with the over. Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah, because you know what? I feel like a guy like Mike Sainer still is going to factor into that as well.
Okay.
I mean, I think they're going to be I think that the
Some
blitz
exotic stuff.
Yeah, I think the blitz designs are going to be a little more exotic, a little more confusing for Stroud. I mean, keep in mind, this is a kid who has not beat Ohio State or who's not beat Michigan before. He doesn't know what that's like. All CJ Stroud knows of Michigan is pain and loss. And so I think if they can get to him early, hit him in the mouth early, it's going to be, all of that PTSD is going to come back. And I think he's going to be rattled for the rest of the afternoon. But you got to get to him early. Cannot let that kid get into a rhythm. I'll take the over.
Maybe Oki coming off one side. You've got Sainer still.
doubt.
Maybe a Mike Barrett right up the A gap, right up under his
sack
chin,
fumble. Somebody picks it up. Yeah. Going back to the game against Minnesota to open up the COVID season, where I think Jeter picked it up after the Mike Barrett hit, something like that. You got to get in that kid's face early. Cannot let him get into a rhythm.
Face, ass, wherever you want to get in there.
Every orifice, just get in
Fill
there
him up.
and make him uncomfortable.
Good Lord. Anyway, I will say this. I've seen many people mention it. It's not even really about the sacks, because I really think that he could throw a pass, complete it, and get popped and still be rattled and still fold up. He just he doesn't want it. He doesn't want the smoke, dude. He doesn't. You can see it on his face. We watched it happen in Ann Arbor last year, and then all that happened afterwards. Excuse after excuse after excuse. No owning up to it. No taking it on the chin. No saying it with his chest. All extenuating circumstances that he had nothing to do with. So I'm with you, dude. I think that's very, very.
Get up in his ass like that banana bike seat, CJ Frazier.
Might be the most important thing in the entire game tomorrow. Hitting CJ Stroud.
You have to hit him a lot. Now, I'm not saying you got to. We're not talking about injuring anybody.
No. It's just.
But
this is part of the play.
This is football. You got to get in there and you got to hit him and you got to make him feel it early and often. You got to rattle.
I hope they don't get one penalty, like for a late hit or roughing, or not. Just pop them. Every time there's a zone read carried out, give him a shot in the chest, man. All that stuff is legal. Give him something to think about back there. There's no doubt. So this is my last one because I had the sack number as well. Again, we're going back. It just, dude, coming up with some of these predictions made me realize just how much Michigan's dealing with injury. It's like every main player you'd want to talk about is like a maybe. It's made it kind of hard to come up with some of this stuff, but I'm going to do another one. Donovan Edwards. And this is where whatever injury he's dealing with on his hand, on his thumb, on his wrist, it really limits what makes him special. But Donovan Edwards over under 2.5 catches.
Under. I don't think, and this is one of those where I would be more than happy to be wrong. I don't think Donovan Edwards is going to be much of a factor at all tomorrow, if any. I mean, he hasn't played all that much. He had one really great game against Penn State, and then outside of that, it's been sporadic at best. So even if he is on the field and he takes a hit the wrong way, you might not see him for the rest of the game. I'm going to go under on Donovan Edwards. There hasn't been enough consistency there for me to believe that it can happen in the biggest game of the year.
Tim Darga, that's a great question. I don't know if it's his left or right hand, but I have heard it's hand. It's not wrist, it's not thumb, it's not finger, it's like hand, which you can play through. It's probably better that it's not a wrist or a finger.
Yeah.
It's a pain management thing again. Shoot him up, put a padded glove on it, and try to give it a go, 7. We'll see what it looks like. But if you're talking about a guy who's dynamic at catching the ball, and Chris is right, it's not like he's been on the field for 50 snaps a game. He's been pretty sparsely used, so I will take the under as well. I mean, if he catches a couple, cool. I just don't know what you can really expect from him at this point.
All right, man. So we've talked about a lot of things that are necessary. I think obviously Blake Corum playing is necessary. JJ McCarthy completing a lot of passes is necessary. Limiting Ohio State's points at the half, necessary. Getting to CJ Stroud, absolutely necessary. Here's another thing that I think is necessary, the turnover margin. Michigan, I've got turnovers for Michigan. Now, keep in mind, and this is something I really didn't pay too much attention to, but it hasn't happened all that often. Michigan's actually ranked number 3 nationally with just 6 turnovers on the year. They've got 3 interceptions and they've got 3 fumbles.
You're talking about them turning it over.
The offense turning the ball over. Correct. So I've got Michigan's offensive turnovers set at 1.5 on Saturday.
Under. I think it's the under. I mean, like game flow again. If they do what they want to do, which is run it a bunch and run it effectively and give it to guys who don't fumble the ball, they'll be fine and they'll be way under that number. If they get forced into, damn it, we're down 10, we're down 14, now we got to air it out a little bit, and they're doing some things they're a little more uncomfortable with, and maybe JJ starts to press just a little bit because he hasn't had to do that this year. That's where it could pop up a little bit more, but I would still take the under because, I mean, JJ, I know he hasn't played there before and he's still a young quarterback, but he's got to know the importance of taking care of the football in that environment against that kind of team on the road. I'll take the under. They've done it all year long. They've taken care of the ball really, really well.
Yeah, you know what? Again, it's out of necessity. I'm going to take the under, but I will say this. You know I love JJ as much as anybody out there. During the stretch, the final stretch there against Illinois, he made some throws, some decisions late that I thought were, the ball could have been picked off when Michigan was already in field goal range, not really sure what they were trying to do. But JJ has shown that he has a lot of confidence in himself and what he's trying to do, as he should, for good reason. But because I think he's going to have to throw more, it's going to lend itself towards, possibly maybe throwing an interception. I just think Michigan can't afford to turn the ball over twice in Columbus and escape with a win. So for that reason, I'm going to go with the under.
There's over-unders. One of our better segments, if I do say so myself.
Not a bad segment for heading into week 12.
We get a lot of good discussion going with that one, and we'll finish up with a couple predictions and of course our scores for the game tomorrow. But first, I mean, if we ever need a shot in the arm, a little jolt of confidence, you know what Chris and I go to. We go to that place right there with the Army National Guard out there in Grand Ledge. Great people, great experiences, great knowledge, great morals. I mean, everything we've ever done with them has made me, we say it every time, made me feel like I need to be better at everything.
Not the best basketball players out there. Whoa. Not the best basketball players.
Did that go down?
Else, you know what? It didn't go down because he was ducking me. Whoa. He was talking a good game. It was supposed to go down on Tuesday. We had the location set, and then he was MIA, probably out on a mission, probably doing something more important than playing basketball with me on a Tuesday. But I just don't know that those guys are hoopers out there. But anything off of the basketball court, those are the guys you want on your side. There's no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, everything we did with them has just been awesome. I mean, Chris and I have gotten to do a couple things with that group alone in the last calendar year that just I don't think I ever would have thought I'd ever want to do or even get the experience. Dude, when I found out we had the opportunity to go up in a Chinook, I'm like, I'm not going, dude. And I thought my dad might disown me. He's like, son, he sat down with all serious, son, if you don't do this. And I started to think about it more. I have a crippling fear of heights, and I really didn't know what to expect, and it was absolutely incredible. And Chris, I don't think you love heights, right? And you were hanging out the back end of this thing.
Hate heights. But for some odd reason, I felt completely at ease and comfortable, tethered to the back of a lift gate, wide open, thousands of feet in the air, just hanging out back there and taking it in. And I think that's really a testament to, just you put your trust in these guys and you believe that, even if something goes wrong, you're going to be taken care of. So incredible experience, man. It's one of those things that, my children being born, marrying my wife, and then, Chinook helicopter. That is right up there with all those experiences. Crazy. That'll stay with me forever.
Crazy. Did you get the ink yet? Ink is coming, is it not?
The ink is coming. The ink is coming, to commemorate that experience for sure.
Incredible people, incredible place. I don't really know how it works, but I would say just show up out there and ask questions and you won't be disappointed.
Yeah,
Seriously.
no doubt.
That's what it is. Grand Ledge, Michigan Army National Guard. Big shout out to them for being a sponsor all year long. Rico Jesus. Interesting name, by the way. I kind of dig saying it. Thank you for the donation and the question that comes along with it. The worst experiences we have heard about from Michigan fans who go to the shoe. Honestly, dude, well, I said it already. I've never been there, so I don't have any from personal experience. I've never really heard of anything like violent or like, physical. I'm sure it's happened. I mean, I know it's happened. It happens at every sporting event when you get that many people around. It's probably not as much about the fan bases disliking each other as it is alcohol. But all I've heard, I think the worst I've heard is just how they talk. And it doesn't really matter if it's like an 8-year-old kid. People will be like, you right in their face and like drop F-bombs. And it doesn't matter. Like you're not old woman, young child, like you're not safe. It's like, it's pretty raucous. It's pretty intense, pretty vulgar. Honestly, that's about the worst I've heard. I don't have an experience of someone getting like jumped. And like I said, I've never been there personally, so I can't even go off of things I've seen on my own. Maybe we will have a great story for you after the post game on Saturday. We'll see.
Yeah, there's no, I mean, I've heard things and I don't know how much of that is true. I mean, I've heard the things of the, the bottles of urine and somebody, the batteries being thrown and things like that, but I don't know. Is that just people talking shit? Is that real stuff that's I can tell you personally, I'm not at all. I'm excited to go to the Horseshoe. I'm excited to go into that stadium. I'm excited to be in enemy territory for a game like that, where I feel like you're going to get whatever the shoe is capable of, you're going to get on Saturday for this game, because there's that much at stake. And I am just so grateful to be there and be a part of it. And I can't wait to experience it, man. I go into it with nothing but excitement and gratitude.
There you go. This is not a donation. This is our final segment of the week. Place your bets if you want to get really quick. Don't listen to Chris and I. Here we go. Chris, did you create a FanDuel account yet?
Not yet.
All right. Well, I didn't do real good in the NFL yesterday on Thanksgiving, so we'll see if we can turn it around. Shocker, right? Yeah. We'll see if we can turn it around this weekend. All right. Only 2 ranked games besides Michigan and Ohio State, so not a real long segment here, Chris, but a couple of interesting ones, a couple teams we've talked about throughout the year, and then, one that all Michigan fans love to hate. So here we go. Number 9, Oregon, Chris. Number 9, Oregon at number 21, Oregon State. They used to call it the Civil War. The woke police kind of squashed that, so they don't call it that anymore. But it's still a big, obviously, an in-state game, huge rivalry. The Ducks and the Beavers. The Ducks are getting 3. The Beavers are getting 3. The Ducks are favored by 3 points in that one, Chris. It's in Corvallis. It's at 3:30. I haven't seen Oregon State play all year. I've seen Oregon look really good. I've seen them look kind of bad. What say you?
Give me, isn't Oregon dealing with quarterback issues right now?
Bo Nix is
a little bit dinged up. Yeah, very dinged up. But he is going to play, right? He is going to play?
Yes.
Give me Oregon. Give me Oregon. I just feel like, Oregon is headed for a Rose Bowl spot. And, probably the loser of this game is going to head there to meet them.
I just can't believe Oregon State's like good at football right now. It doesn't happen.
They do have the mullet running things. I mean, dude, when you got a coach.
No, that's Oklahoma State.
That's Oklahoma State. That's right. That's right. My bad. So they have no mullet.
Orange and black.
Orange and black State.
I think I'm going to take Oregon too. Bo Nix gutted it out last week, and I'm guessing he'd be a little bit better off this week after having some more time to rehab and get healthy. But yeah, I mean, it's a close one. It's a toss-up. It's a hated game. I'll still take the Ducks. Give me the Ducks by 3 to cover. And then before we get to Michigan and Ohio State, Chris, it's number 15 Notre Dame at number 6 USC. It's a 7 o'clock kick out west, so still an early game out there. Or 7 o'clock kickoff here, so that's 4 o'clock out west. Trojans are favored by 4.5 over the Irish. This is a sneaky pick where people think like, nah. USC hasn't really run into anything like Notre Dame yet. What do you think, man?
I just don't have enough belief in Notre Dame. And I'd be lying if I said I knew a lot about USC, but I know that USC can have a potent offense. And I don't believe in Notre Dame at this point. So give me USC.
I've flipped back and forth a little bit on this one because USC does not play defense.
Now, it would be better for Michigan if Notre Dame won.
It
correct?
would. It would. Notre Dame does not. I'm sorry. USC does not play defense. Notre Dame's going to be pretty sound. They're nowhere near as good on offense. But for me, it comes back to the best player in that game is Caleb Williams playing quarterback for USC. And he's really freaking good. I like him a lot. Just a second-year guy, so he's not even draft eligible yet. But I will also take the Trojans. You've got the sleepy Midwesterners going out west. I think USC is going to have too much offense for Notre Dame. So give me the Trojans.
USC still got a lot to play for.
They do. Yeah, absolutely. There's no doubt. They're working their way on backing into the playoff. If they win this one, then they win the Pac-12 championship game. They're going to have 2 more wins on their resume that look pretty good and still just that one loss. So, yeah, there's a lot to play for them still. All
Unless
right,
they gotta
dude.
go up against like a 3-loss LSU team, then it's LSU obviously is going to make it.
Number 3, Michigan. At number 2, Ohio State. At noon in Columbus. The Buckeyes are favored by 8. What do you see tomorrow, Chris?
Well, I've been wrestling with this one all week.
Me too.
I went from this uber confidence last week to this week. I kind of came back down. I started reading, trends and stats and how long it's been. And you know what? I think I'm guilty of letting the ghosts of previous years impact my thought process on what this year is all about. And this year, Michigan is 11-0, and they've done it on their own terms. And until a team out there proves that they can stop Michigan from doing what they do, I can't pick against the Wolverines. I just can't do it. So I've got Michigan 37, Ohio State 31. 6-point win for the Wolverines on Saturday.
So the Buckeyes they don't. Yeah, of course they don't cover. Yeah,
No, I got the Wolverines outright. 37-31, go blue. And then we drive back to Ann Arbor and we get hammered.
I'll tell you what, dude. I want that to happen so badly. I want our drive home to be glorious. You and I are singing. There's emotions oozing out of the vehicle.
Yeah.
We're just loving life. Again, we walk into Wolverine State Brewing Company with a cheers-like welcome.
Woo!
Start high-fiving strangers. Hell yeah!
Yeah.
That's what I want. Unfortunately.
Oh, Brandon Brown.
I've got Ohio State 34-24.
I don't know what to do with that. I don't even know how to respond to that.
You picked Michigan last year. I picked Ohio State last year, and Michigan beat that ass.
They did.
So maybe the same thing can happen this year.
Maybe that's the formula, you think?
Maybe that's the formula. Oh, Tony, if Michigan wins, we'll go live and put a concert on the whole way home. How's that sound?
I mean, who knows what we're going to be doing? But listen, like I said, there's too much of the previous 21 years that are impacting my judgment on what's happened this year. Am I concerned about the passing game? Yes. Am I worried about Blake Corum's health? Absolutely. Am I worried that Michigan's secondary can really shut down a string of wide receivers that are elite and a passing game that is dangerous? Yes. But at the end of the day, Michigan has been able to dictate the pace of the game for the most part all year. There isn't a single team that's proven that they can beat them. So I'm sure as hell not going to pick against them in the final week of the season in the biggest game of the year. I know that the deck is stacked against them. I know that Ohio State is an 8-point favorite. I don't give a shit. Wolverines 37, Buckeyes 31. Book it.
I mean, I love your enthusiasm. I do.
Book it.
I love it.
You know why? Because they're going to get in his ass. They're going to get in C.J. Stroud's ass. They're going to make things difficult. They're going to pull out some of those bag of tricks plays. And Blake Corum's going to show up with a bionic knee, perfectly tailor-made, to just make shit happen on Saturday. I think we're going to see the Michigan offense that we want to see Saturday.
There you have it. Matt E. We are not taking Rosie. And Drew Shadow Chateau.
Not really
We're
kicking
not
in
gonna be
anywhere.
doing a lot of kicking it.
By the time we roll up, by
Yeah.
the time we get there, it's going to be pretty much time to get into the stadium, start to get our bearings. You know, I'll head down to the field. Brandon will head up to the press box. Look, we wanted it to be a little bit different. We wanted to be able to take Rosie down and do a tailgate. You know, unfortunately, the folks over in Columbus just weren't really willing to work with us until like almost like the very last minute. But even that was kind of like it was all thrown together last minute, and we weren't able to really put together what we wanted there. And so we're gonna make the safe play, because obviously the most important part is making the game, being there at the game, being able to report on it, shoot it, experience it, and then everything that comes along with that. And so we'll probably be rolling up into Columbus right around 9 o'clock or so, 9:30, and then it's get to the stadium and start to get to work.
Drew Chateau. Appreciate the inquiry, but yeah, it's going to be more like roll up, get to work, get going. I mean, like, it's all business for everybody.
Yeah. Yep.
Hey, let me send an email to the Ohio State Sports Information Director. Hey, you know, the guys at Iowa, Indiana, they were super accommodating. Can we bring our RV up there? We're really excited about it. We just really wanted to just... Dude.
I'm sorry. Who are you with? Who are you?
No love.
Are you from
No
Michigan?
love.
No.
No love. But anyway, we don't need it. We don't want it.
We're going to be up in there regardless.
Up in that ass.
Going to be all up in that stadium.
Up in the ass. Just so many asses to get into.
It's going to be ass getting into weekend. Getting into all kinds of ass. That's right. We will. We will call you if we get stuck into leave.
Appreciate that to send us on our way. Safe travels to everybody else. If anybody else is going down to
hell yeah,
that area, me and Chris will be... Pull-out game will be strong tomorrow morning. That's all I have to say about that.
Strong and hopefully joyful.
That's all I have to say about that. So thank you so much, guys. We will see. We'll see what happens. I mean, if me and Chris get a little, you know, we're feeling a little frisky, maybe we'll go live before the game tomorrow on our ride in. Maybe we'll go live somewhere. We'll see. It's, you know, road games do pose a little bit of a hurdle with that. So we'll see what ends up happening. And then after the game, we will certainly go live. I think maybe, Chris, it might even be worth a quick 5 or 10 minute live immediately after the game before we do a little bit more of a sit down when we get back to Wolverine. But we'll talk about all that tomorrow. Everybody
need
cool?
a W. We just need a damn W. I'm a little on edge. I'm a little freaked out. I'm a little excited. My emotions are all over the place. We just got to get this
Ohio State to win. Are you mad at me?
No, I'm not mad at you, because I think deep down there's a part of me that feels that way too. But again, I think I'm just snake bitten by the way things have been, and I'm trying to keep it into perspective and what's happened this year. And I remember saying it a couple weeks ago that I love the brand of football that this team is playing. I think they're playing the exact brand of football needed to go and beat Ohio State. And I'm not going to shy away from that at this point, man. I think if they've got Blake Corum in there, I feel much better about the set of circumstances. I like the defense. I think J.J. McCarthy's got something for him. I believe in this team.
Let's let it fly. Let's let it fly in Columbus.
Get it done,
you guys.
Get it done.
At some point tomorrow, you will see us again.
You will see
keep
us.
It locked. We appreciate the support as always. Go Blue, dude. I'll say it this time.